While Richard Nixon resigned his presidency to prevent the Senate from impeaching him on charges of conspiracy to obstruct justice, many clues have surfaced in the course of time, pointing in the other direction. Nixon may have been the victim, not the villain. It all began when Daniel Ellsberg leaked Robert McNamara's Pentagon Papers to the New York Times. President Nixon, believing his peace plan for Vietnam was in jeopardy, ordered an investigation to prevent any further leaks. Two members of the committee to re-elect the president, John Mitchell, Attorney General, and John Ehrlichman, Assistants for Domestic Affairs, created an investigative unit, the Plumbers, and hired E. Joe Croft, Howard Hunt, Gordon Liddy, and James McCord as plumbers. The first mission for the Plumbers was breaking and entering the office of Dr. Louis Fielding, Elworth's psychiatrist. The Plumbers brought 3 men from Miami to do the job: Bernard Barker, Eugenio Martinez, and Felipe Diago. The second mission was breaking and entering the office of the Democratic National Committee at the Watergate complex in Washington. The burglars must photograph all contributions to the presidential campaign and install some wiretapping. They couldn't force open any entry and called it a fiasco. That fiasco taught the Plumbers a lesson. They needed a locksmith as part of the team. Next time they succeeded, taking all photos they wanted and wiretapping 2 phones. The locksmith was Virgilio Gonzalez, also known as Vilo, a Cuban-American from Miami. McCord asked the burglars return to Watergate to fix the faulty bug. The security Frank Wills found some tape holding a door ajar. Fear and foul play called the police, who arrested 5 burglars: James McCord, Bernard Barker, Vilo Gonzalez, Eugenio Martinez, and Frank Sturgis. Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, journalists working for the Washington Post, published a confidential report for a mysterious source also known as Deep Throat, stating that the Watergate burglars were working for the committee to re-elect the president. Elliot Richardson, new Attorney General, appointed Archibald Cox as special prosecutor for the Watergate case. Loyalty to Nixon cracked when Alex Butterfield, his deputy assistant, revealed that an automatic system recorded every word said in the Oval Office. Cox and Judge John Sirica subpoenaed the tapes. President Nixon appealed the order all the way to the Supreme Court. The court ruled unanimously that the president had to hand over the 64 tapes to the special prosecutor. In January 1973, Hunt and Croft, heads of the Plumbers, as well as the 5 burglars McCord, Gonzalez, Sturgis, Martinez, and Barker, were found guilty of burglary, conspiracy to obstruct justice, and wiretapping. All except McCord pled guilty. McCord wrote a letter to Judge John Sirica from prison accusing his accomplices for committing perjury under pressure from John Dean and John Mitchell. All other Plumbers had pled guilty, hoping to stop the ongoing investigation, but Judge Sirica didn't stop it. In view of the evidence, the president asked Ehrlichman, Dean, and Harry Haldeman, assistant to Nixon, to resign. Dean refused and was fired. All 3 of them, along with about 40 more of Nixon's innermost circle, would end up in prison. Dean testified before the Senate Investigative Committee, saying that Nixon was aware of the Operation Gemstone, name given by Liddy to the creation of the Plumbers, and that had participated in the cover-up. This was certainly a retaliation for his firing. In 2005, an ex-FBI agent, Mark Felt, identified himself as Deep Throat. He had been first in line to become FBI head when Edgar Hoover died in 1973. Nixon, instead, appointed a personal friend. Phelps' leak was certainly a personal vendetta. When Nixon learned he had 67 votes against him in the Senate, decided to resign effective August 9, 1973 at noon. He announced it the eve of a message to the nation on radio and TV. After resigning, he gave a warm farewell speech to his White House personnel. Mistakes made by the plumbers show that Hunt, Leedy, and McCord were the architects of Nixon's demise, whether unwittingly or on purpose. Hunt and Leedy deserved the benefits of the doubt, but McCord's past before, during, and after Watergate is one of betrayal. Carl Oglesby, in his book, The Yankee and the Cowboy War, contends that McCord was a pawn in the CIA plot against Nixon. His friend and ex-CIA agent Miles Copeland asserts that McCord led his fellow burglars into a trap. John Simpkin, creator of Spartacus Educational, made a list of 24 mistakes made by the plumbers and their bosses. There was one other mistake. Why would McCord stick a tape into a bolt to keep a door open while the crew had a locksmith? Clearly the tape was a telltale. In the light of what we know today, it is certain that Nixon was the object of a plot. When some of the president's men became complicit with some of the president's enemies, Nixon took the blame for his men's misdeeds, but defended them to the last ounce of his will. I'm